Can we proceed? Okay. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I hope everybody is on and we can proceed. Hello. Timatebubu, are you here?
Yes, 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 please, madam.
Okay. Team Yendi.
Yes,
Yes,
please, we are
please, we are
here.
here.
Okay. Team Afra. Hello, anyone from Team Accra? Okay. And Team Kumasi. I don't think they are. Please, can we proceed? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation of insights from the June Congress 2023 Turkey Syria earthquake panel. Today, Yvonne will be sharing with us some valuable insights and lessons learned from the significant events, as well as opportunity to understand assessment activities, assessment and mitigation strategies. Yvonne makes internal engineering. So Yvonne, the floor is all yours. We are listening to you. Hello, Yvonne. Please, can you share your screen and start your presentation?
All right, okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yvonne Joa Into, and I'll be presenting on my insights from the Joe Congress 2023, the Turkey-Syria earthquake panel. My presentation will take this outline. The Turkey-Syria earthquake occurred on 6th February 2023, and a panel discussed the event at the Joe Congress 2023. The session was sponsored by Kela and was moderated by Lucky. So the earthquake was caused by the disjunction of the Anatolian, the Arabian, and the African plates. On the fateful day of the event, an earthquake of magnitude 7.8 occurred, and then hours later, one with magnitude of 7.5 also occurred in southern Turkey and northern Syria. The event was recorded by about 857 stations, which are already in place. About 9.6 million people were directly affected by the occurrence. 109,000 people were injured. And unfortunately, as at March 23rd, 2023, about 57,300 people had lost their lives. So there's a list of the panelists and their topics. The panel was made up of individuals of different disciplines, and then they discussed the facts and how to prevent major events like this earthquake from becoming catastrophic in the future. So we'll be starting with discussions from Dr. Frost, whose presentation focused on geotechnical observations. He highlighted on the superiority of power foundations. Then he used the green building in the image provided as an example. Though the building had experienced some form of settlement, it stood a better chance since it was on power foundations than those that were on mud foundations. And during his team's reconnaissance survey, they observed some lateral spreading and damage to highways and upward phases of dams. And on the future of geotechnical reconnaissance, he explained how drones were used to capture structural motion, and the data was used to create 3D models of the area using a software called SiteEye. We'll also be talking about Dr. Ozgun and Tuche's presentation. So Dr. Ozgun was one of the people who was directly affected by the earthquake, and he shared his experience on how difficult it was to separate his emotions from the work he was doing at the moment. He also explained how communicating with the people of the region and experts who were already stationed there helped to gain information for his work. Dr. Tucher described large ground deformations and the impacts of the earthquake on critical infrastructure, such as the Hatay airport. She explained how the earthquake had caused damage to the runway for the airport and how it had to be closed down for a number of days. And this was very detrimental to the rescue mission since the airport had to be closed down for a number of days. She also highlighted on how climate change has acted as a stressor and leading to cascading events after the earthquake. On education and codes of engineering practice, Dr. Etches spoke about how earthquake engineering was taught in undergraduate study, but she also hoped that it would be made compulsory or mandatory so that everybody, like all the students, have knowledge about such events. And then they would also be educated intensively on the codes and engineering practices that were acceptable. She also emphasized on how difficult monitoring construction works were, and then she advised that it was important to have strict checks for quality control and assurance. On foundation performance and improvement of ground conditions, Dr. Pelling hammered on using site-specific analysis when designing infrastructure. She didn't leave out the fact that types of soil and foundations should be looked at critically, as well as the ground conditions to be improved for construction purposes. She also used the Chai districts as a case study, and then she described how the buildings had experienced some settlement, and she explained the type of foundations they had, the amount of settlements that had occurred. Dr. Aisha, who was the structural engineer on the panel, gave her overview of the damage that were observed. So the two images in the top images were the before and after of a shopping center. Then she explained how the place was of early settlement. So then when the earthquake occurred, there was great damage to those environments. So the data she gathered with her team was used to create this structural damage assessment map. And when you look at the bottom, it gives a summary of the number of buildings in the region. That was 2.6 million buildings in the entire region. And 1.7 million of the buildings were inspected. And out of those, 18,000 of them were marked for demolition, and 35,000 of them had already collapsed during the event. Dr. Emil was also the social expert on the panel. And then she also spoke about building resilient communities. And then she shared her concerns about how the rapid reconstruction of the area would or might lead to sidestepping urban planning, the rules and regulations of construction. She stated how the president wanted to rebuild the region quickly. I think her concerns were more about how it was going to be politically related, and they were going to be sidestepping most of the things because he had to quickly rebuild. She also spoke about how the region already had issues of inequity. Then she advised that all individuals will be treated equally. For example, in sharing of tents and the basic supplies. She encouraged fair treatment for all. She also spoke about how needs were important, but some attention should also be given to the long-term goals while interrelating all the other aspects. Inclusion, I'd like to state technology and software such as Site Eye should be used in reconnaissance missions. And we must also consider site-specific conditions as well as site conditions when designing structures. And finally, after events, I know that the short recovery measures such as the food and the tents are important, but some attention should also be given to the long-term measures. So this is a reference. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Yvonne, for the presentation. I think now we have some questions, so I'll read it out. Then maybe you can go ahead. You can go ahead and answer. Then, if anybody, other person has a question, they can bring it on
Hello,
board.
Jacqueline, please.
So, from Engineer Edward Melanie. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
So the first question is, how did you come to know about all of these?
I'm unable to hear anything.
So, Yvonne, good morning. Good morning, Yvonne, and everyone. Hello, Yvonne, can you hear me?
Good morning, sir.
Okay, Yvonne, can you hear me also? Emmanuel, good morning.
It is reconnecting. I don't know if you can hear me.
Is it for me or for you? Yvonne, I can hear you when you speak. Can you hear me?
Hello. 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 Yes, I was experiencing some issues with the network.
Okay, okay. So whilst we wait for Engineer Melo to come back on, can I ask a question in the chat?
Please, Jackie, I also have a question. I think I can type it. Anyway. Hello.
So can I finish with the question in the chat and get back to you?
Okay.
So the first one is, how did you come to know about all of this? Then the second one is, what are how foundation and how are different from the other kind you refer to? What was that agency? The last one is, are you able to share some insight about the technology referred to as Site Eye?
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, the first question was on how I got to know about the earthquake and the presentation, like the presentation at the Geo Congress. So, Sir registered myself, Dan, and Mr. Joseph for the Congress online. So it was on YouTube, and then I had to just do a little research to add up to their presentations. And then on Power Foundation, they are like long reinforced concrete works on which structures are built. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Yvonne, we can hear you.
Yes, we
Go
can
ahead.
hear you.
Yes, so the Power Foundations from research, I think, increases the bearing capacity of the rock or the soil on which a structure is built. It's a way of improving the ground to carry, let's say, heavy structures. I didn't get the third question.
So the third question relates to your conclusion. In your conclusion, you made reference to the use of technology, and one of the technologies referred to was the use of a tool referred to as Site Eye. So I asked if you were able
Yes, sir.
to throw some light on the use of that. If you're unable to, that's fine. It's something you can look into for another day. My initial question related to how you began your presentation. You launched directly into telling us all about the Turkey and Syrian earthquake without an introduction that would have given us the kind of background as to how you got to participate in any discussion leading up to all of this. So for the benefit of the rest of us who are unaware of how you would have gained the kind of insight in something happening very far away from this place, and why you become our expert this morning on what was happening in two countries very far away, I thought it would have served us better that you gave some background, a little more detail than just a registration on what it was, about what the Congress was about. That way, it serves as some form of information for others also to look into how they can look out for information to participate in such learning opportunity in the future. I hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
I think Emmanuel Atia from Atibu also had a question. Jacqueline is on the road, so perhaps her connection might not be reliable. But Jacqueline, when you are able to speak, you should take over.
So please, am I speaking or hello? Hello,
Go
sir.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Emmanuel. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. My question is throughout the presentation, if maybe I didn't hear well, but I did not hear four shocks. My little knowledge in earthquake about four shocks. Shocks that will come maybe to tell you that you have an impending earthquake. Maybe perhaps it can even be used to predict the magnitude of the earthquake come. And then from the presentation, you see that one said he couldn't separate his emotions from the work that he was doing. So, and every day like this, earthquake consuming a lot of lives, which is not supposed to be so. So while it's a natural occurrence, but we have learned of foreshocks. So haven't they used foreshocks so that they can tell the impending magnitude of earthquake that is coming, so that the people might have moved somewhere. So maybe if I did not hear that, but did any of the presenters say something about foreshocks before the main earthquake and even
No,
after
none of
shocks?
them did. None of
Uh,
them did. They had about 857 stations in place, but the focus of their presentations were on the major, like those of high magnitude. So then they didn't
uh,
talk much about the foreshocks.
okay. So
And
so
the person, yeah.
I'm asking generally like any one of us because so if not our knowledge or the four shocks, I don't know how we have been applying it since it's still claiming like not to you but to every one of us. Maybe I don't understand, but any one of us who have knowledge in earthquake engineering or something, I don't know. But I think if we have knowledge of four shocks, then it should pre-inform us of measures to take to reduce such damages. Any one of us who have knowledge of that, what we use the four shocks for. Hello.
Emmanuel, considering our limited understanding of all of the engineering and science you speak about, why don't you start with explaining to us what four shocks are to begin
Oh,
with,
okay,
and
okay.
then maybe you can share your insights, and that may help us to begin to even form some understanding of it. In the meantime, Yvonne, you may fall on your other two colleagues who participated in the Congress with you to assist if need be, since you all come from the same areas of expertise.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, my four shocks means if something as an earthquake that is coming, the main earthquake, it will send signals which may be minor, like let's say we have an earthquake of magnitude 7, a magnitude of 4 or 3 may come to pre-inform you that there's something. The stations will measure the signals to tell you that there's an earthquake coming. So that's what I wanted to hear about. And then aftershocks, even after the earthquake have occurred, the main earthquake, the major one have occurred, there will still be some movement of the earth that will come after the earthquake, the major earthquake have occurred. So that's what I wanted to see, especially the presenters, even if they didn't present on the four shocks, that's signs before the main earthquake, then at least what of aftershocks, so that people who were able to survive the main earthquake can take measures to survive.
Excellent. So that adds to our knowledge stock. So we've now come to know that in addition to the main earthquake, there are also precursor activities that exist we call foreshocks, and there are also post earthquake activities we call aftershocks. So for those that we are unable to share further insights on, we will hold on to them. Perhaps they will become presentations for other people on another day. Um, However, I can understand if the presenters are unable to share any insights. That is, if it wasn't part of the presentations from their Congress. However, the focus on this was for the Congress they participated in. So, Yvonne and your colleagues who participated in the event with you, if you have no knowledge, then you may pass that about the occurrence of the events that Emmanuel is referring to. Then you may defer it to another a future event where you may provide some further details about this, or it could become something that any one of us could decide to write about or share knowledge about on a future date. However, if you have some knowledge about, you could decide to share on this platform.
No, sir. Please, we would research about it and revert at a further presentation, a later date.
Thank you. Emmanuel, do you have any more questions?
No, please. Thank you.
So, given that Jacqueline is on the road and may not have reliable access to internet, I would hold brief for her. However, if Jacqueline, you are able to take over, please do. Are there any more contributions anyone has to make to the presentations? Daniel and Joseph, you also took part in this Congress. Do you have any insights, thoughts to share about this? We'll have to hear from you. Daniel, what are your thoughts from the Congress? So this Congress was an event organized by the Geo Institute of the American Society of Civil Engineers, focusing especially on the earthquake that occurred in the Turkey and Syrian region. A lot of us focus on just Turkey, but it's affected two countries, and it was very devastating. We would know of the loss of life of one of our very, very own national Christian Achu, who passed in Turkey, very sadly. So I thought that for those of our professionals who have inkling in their learnings and practice in the areas of geotechnical engineering, to participate in this conference so that they can acquire some information to add to their knowledge and become aware of global issues that affect their industry. Such new information and awareness of developments in the world enrich our conversations and general awareness of developments around the world. For me, our interaction today has helped me to appreciate the dimension of even the involvement of social aspects of work in redevelopment of redevelopment after such catastrophic events. As you hear from the presentation by Yvonne, as part of the panels, there were social specialists whose interest is in how there has to be deliberate planning and how politics should not necessarily influence decision making, and how planning should be deliberate and should be inclusive, and how tribe ethnicity should not drive the way resources are allocated. So it tells us that issues of sustainability are very key to development. And this, for us in our organization, is very key because whilst focusing on those hard sciences, we are also considering the soft sciences alongside. And so you would find that we have a parallel practice of engineers and analysts working alongside us all of the time. And we always have the interface of the engineering practice with the analyst, and the conflict that exists between the perspectives of the analysts and the engineers. And again, you find that on this platform, the politician thinks they must expedite redevelopment. The social scientist thinks, well, you have to move slowly. It's the same things you're experiencing on the ground with our little road development. They are always fighting rap. You haven't paid compensation. You haven't done this on rap, and you haven't done that. So the issues that we deal with in our local environment, wherever else you find in the world, they are very similar, and they recur. I'll take a pause and hear from Daniel if he's gathered his thoughts now. Daniel, very quickly, and let's wrap up.
Good morning, everyone. I believe Yvonne has said it all from everything we learned from the presentation, but one particular aspect I'm really enthused about is the future of reconnaissance survey and how the SciTi software is used to create a 3D imagery of what actually happened. So we are looking forward to maybe doing some more research on it and having a full grasp of what the SciTi software actually does. Thank you.
Okay, so then that becomes your next presentation then. So you'll come back, you'll be scheduled to make a presentation on the SciTi, the application of the SciTi for reconnaissance survey then.
Yes,
I mean,
please.
it shouldn't stay us from asking questions. It will be exciting. I know originally you were scheduled to make a presentation on Chinese culture, but you do the SciTi before we come to that. Uncle Joe, what do you have for is Joseph around? Do you have
So
any
he was
thoughts to share?
called to lot one, so
Oh, so
he's
he's
currently
running
on
the
his
site.
way. His
Okay,
network
that's fine. Might not be stable. That's fine. Okay. Then Jacqueline, if you are still online, I would defer to you to round up. Otherwise, we should be able to conclude at this point if one has no more points to add.
Okay, so thank you very much. And thank you, Yvonne, for the insights given and the knowledge you've shared so far. I don't know if anybody else have any other question. If not, then we'll call it a day and see you all next week for our next presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you and
you.
all the best, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.